Yes, Emperor.
Yes, my lord.
We have an base for later.
To the most honourable gathered representatives, and to all who may hear this, greetings. It's with great pleasure that our Imperial Majesty hereby declares that the term of the 7th Legislature of the ruling council has officially begun and shall last from now until June 2019. In this council assembled, the 4 provinces of the Empire of Adamia are represented by means of their landed noble and their elected councillor. Furthermore, delegates represent our colonies far from this chamber and our citizens living abroad in the United Kingdom and elsewhere. These 10 representatives who form the council joining the 7th Legislature are as follows. Present on behalf of the province of Greater Titania are the Duchess of Greater Titania, Her Grace Lady Sophie Thornton, and the Councillor of Greater Titania, our Imperial Majesty. On behalf of the province of Circassia are the Duke of Circassia, His Grace Lord St. Maud, and the Councillor of Circassia, His Grace Lord Sir Alexander Helliker. On behalf of the province of Illyria is the Duke of Illyria, His Grace Lord General Luca Panconi, and the Councillor of Illyria, Sir Alexander Hasoshan. On behalf of the province of Dank-upon-Born are the Duchess of Dank-upon-Born, Her Grace Lady Anna Worthington, and the Councillor of Dank-upon-Born, Lady Hermione Peace. On behalf of the colonies is Sir Owen Davies, and on behalf of our citizens abroad is Sir Juliano Saunders. As dictated to us by our most venerated fundamental law, the Supreme Directive, this legislature oversees an executive government led by a Prime Minister elected by the peoples of the Empire. The Prime Minister for this term was elected in a national election 2 weeks ago. Of the candidates who stood in that election, Sir Juliano Saunders received 19 votes, His Grace Lord Alexander Helliker received 10 votes, and His Grace Lord St. Maud received 6 votes. Thus, Sir Juliano Saunders has been elected as the 5th Prime Minister of the Empire of Adamia. On Monday, I met with the Prime Minister to discuss the formation of a cabinet, which will run the executive imperial government during this term. The composition of the cabinet is as follows. The Prime Minister shall be Sir Juliano Saunders. The Deputy Prime Minister shall be Lord St. Maud. The Minister of Finance shall be Sir Juliano Saunders. The Minister of Foreign Affairs shall be Lord St. Maud. The Minister of Defence shall be Lady Anna Worthington. The Minister of Citizenship and Information shall be Lady Anna Worthington. And the Minister of National Development shall be Lady Hermione Peace. Lord Alex Helliker shall act as Leader of the Opposition, which will scrutinise the work of the Executive within this chamber. Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin this term, I am inclined to remind you all that there is a strong and long-lasting tradition that this place sees a healthy mix of humour and serious business. We have no history of personal attacks or outright fabrication. I trust, order please, trust that this council will keep its business grounded in a respectful reality. Our work so far with the new administration has been productive and I hope it will remain that way. It is worth reiterating that the constitutional basis for government in Adamia is the monarch and the people working in tandem. This is a delicate balance to maintain, and whilst I love democracy, I do not believe that either side should be more powerful than the other. We move now to our business of the day. I hereby call the first meeting of the 7th term of the ruling council into effect on today, the 27th of October 2018. I will open the floor to remarks regarding the opening of the legislature before we move to our further business, which is Decrees 59, 60, 61, Act 51, the budget, and our further business scheduling. Before that, comments on the opening of council, starting with the Prime Minister.
Thank you.
Only 3 weeks ago, I was nobody, and the Liberal moderates in their ivory tower enjoyed ruling a subjugated people. All it took was one outsider to join the race and to completely change the course of history. For the first time, a People's Party won an election despite all of the obstacles set up by the establishment. It is absolutely clear that people want change. During the campaign, Wazakhstan attempted to meddle with our election. Ned Hilton thought he could tell the people how to vote, and he was very wrong. Nobody is more qualified than St. Maud for Minister of Foreign Affairs. I trust he will be strong in the face of other meddling micronations and will ensure an Adamia first policy. The elites have sold our people for too long and for too cheap. we will bring an end to this weak practice. Besides selling off this micronation, they have raided our coffers. This government will investigate beside the corruption allegations made. But besides corruption, Helica also caused a recession that affects all of our hard-working citizens. To show our strong commitment to solving this mess, I will personally be taking the role of Finance Minister and will be held directly to account. We have an exciting budget ready. It was developed with the people, for the people. The days of this recession will be over. We will restore the passion and patriotism for this great micronation that the elites have insisted in suppressing. For too long, our military have been treated like dirt, but that will come to an end. We will ensure that our armed forces have the full support of the state and are treated with respect that they deserve. Dame Worthington is a perfect example of a true patriot and will play an important role in the Ministry of Defence and of Citizenship. The election period was by far the most active Adamia has ever seen before. And let me assure you, this is just the beginning. Lady Peace will continue doing her amazing work as Minister of National Development and lead numerous cultural projects, which we plan to have some money aside for ensuring that culture prospers in our great nation, micronation. But what we are committed to, above all else, is to restore the trust of the people in Adamic politics. Enough of the cynical politicians, of fake news, of fear-mongering. This government will be one of hope, strength and change. We will give the people back control of the decisions made in governments. The people have spoken, and not even Helica can deny them of that right. Constitutional reform is inevitable. Thank you all. Long live Adamia.
Thank you. Next, the Leader of the Opposition, Lord Helica.
My fellow citizens, I would like to start this by personally congratulating Sir Giuliano Saunders on his victory. I disagree with his politics, and in many ways how he has ran his campaign. However, I would be remiss to fail to admit that his campaign was effective, and that he tapped into some sort of spirit in Adamia that we were not aware of. Despite insistence from leaders of the Storm Party and the Labour Party, I will not be resigning from my position as leader of the Liberal Moderate Party. An election is important, but a party leader has other duties. A party leader must represent their people, regardless of whether it is in office or simply as a member of the ruling council. I am not Prime Minister, but I will ensure that the ideals that the Liberal Moderate voters put their trust in me to uphold will be upheld. I will stand by the promises made in the Liberal Moderate Manifesto to the best of my ability. I will attempt to see this economy boosted by our policies. I will lobby for the provision of local governance, and I will stand as a bastion of stability and integrity in this new government, and to defend the soul of Adamia from changes that would seek to compromise it. The spirit of reform is not necessarily bad, and in many areas may be welcome, but I will do my best with the position that I have to curb the excesses of radical change and to ensure that the empire remains strong and stable. It is with great determination that I have taken to the present situation. I love democracy. I love Adamia. The loss of this election will not stop me from doing the best for this country. And as the only recourse available to me, I will stand as opposition to the Storm Party to government to ensure that they are held accountable to the people of this nation. Long live the Empire!
Resign!
Yeah.
Resign!
Shut up!
Would any other members of the council like to offer comments regarding the opening of this term before we move to our further business? Seeing that there's none, we move now to Decree number 59. This was issued by our Imperial Majesty on the 8th of July in Malta to commemorate my first visit to that nation, we officially recognised the Republic of Malta, the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, the Kingdom of Tolosa and the Herbatrian Federation as sovereign states. Are there any questions regarding the nature of that imperial decree? Lord Maud.
What is the final thing that we recognise?
The Herbatrian Federation is a micronation which operates in the United Kingdom. They are, in fact, actually led by a member of the Young Liberals, although I can't tell you which one, because their identity is something of a secret. Which is fine. I don't mind my identity being known as a micronational leader, but some people do want to be a bit more careful about it. So, they also have territory in Malta, which I actually walked through without even realising it. I only discovered that they had territory in Malta and that I'd actually been in that area a few days later. Any other points or questions on
Could I
that?
just make a comment?
Yes, Prime Minister.
The government is looking forward towards having strong relations with all of these amazing micronations, and we look forward for hearing more news in these adventures of the Emperor.
Any other comments? Any motions to have the decree overturned? Seeing that there are none, I move that we advance to the next item on the agenda. Actually, no, we don't need to have motions for that. I think we're on agreement. We move to...
May I ask the
Yeah.
Emperor to go through the procedure step by step to avoid
I
confusion
move
and delay?
that the council moves to the next point on the agenda. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We move now to Decree
Thank you,
60, which regards the reorganisation of provinces following the beginning of the new academic year. In this, we dissolved the former province of Paternia, which was the residence of the former leader of the opposition, Lady Simpson. We also relocated the province of Illyria from its previous location to its new location, and we also created the province of Dank-upon-Bourne. Are there any comments or questions regarding the nature of that decree? Lord Maud.
Labour, and I'm sure Storm agrees, we support this reorganisation, but what we do not support is the effects that dissolving provinces has on the voting rights of those citizens who are then displaced as citizens abroad who then cannot vote for their own member of the ruling council, and the government, I'm sure, will seek to change this.
Yeah.
To reply to Lord Maud on that particular point, with regards to citizens who now fall under the voting range of the delegate of the colonies, they would indeed have had the chance to vote for a delegate of the colonies had we had enough candidates around who were eligible to sit on the ruling council at the time that I called elections. We are currently looking at potential people who could fill that role, and I'm sure all the parties will want to have at least one person to stand for that position before I call a by-election for it. But at some point I do intend that we will have a by-election for the delegate of the colonies. The current delegate of the colonies, Sir Owen Davies, no longer lives in Birmingham, so cannot effectively discharge his duty, so we will be holding a by-election as soon as all of the parties are satisfied that they can field a candidate for it. And furthermore, I will be looking at constitutional amendments to reform the way the delegate of the colonies is elected, because it currently uses a very archaic system in which most of the individuals in the colonies and abroad living in that voting range don't have equal voting rights. It's actually the governors of the colonies currently who have all the voting rights for that seat, and that is something that I do wish to change. I hope that answer is satisfactory. Any other points or questions, comments, motions to have it overturned? Seeing that there are none, move that we advance to the next point on the agenda. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We move now to Decree 61, issued 14th of October. This was issued in the immediate aftermath of the local elections. It appointed Madam Sophie Thornton as Duchess of Greater Titania, Madam Anna Worthington as Duchess of Dank-upon-Bourne. It appointed Lady Hermione Peace as Countess of Dankia Superior, which is the bedroom of Dankia, and it appointed Lord Callum Ger as the Count of Dankia Ulterior, which is the garden of Dankia. Are there any comments or questions regarding that particular decree? Yes, Lord Maud.
What does that mean? That doesn't mean that Callum's on the council, does it?
No, it doesn't. Only dukes and duchesses have seats on the council. That was the titles of the rank of count or countess or baron or baroness are ceremonial titles. It was given to him to ensure that he would still just be eligible to be addressed as Lord rather than Sir. Yes, Manor Worthington.
Does the territory that includes the garden surely includes the bins, which are their own micronation? How does that work?
I understand that, yes, that the bins would be at the front of the house, not at the back garden, which is what is our territory.
Okay, cool.
Yes, Prime Minister.
No, I just wanted to acknowledge Callum Ger, as he has been a very strong supporter of the Storm Party and of this government. He worked very closely with me to get us this far, and I think he deserves a nod.
Any further comments or questions? In that case, I move that we advance to the next point on the agenda. All those in favour?
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? The ayes have it.
Why do you insist on building a narrative of fear of Wazakhstan?
Because there's a lot
Wazakhstan are our
to fear.
friends.
Wazakhstan are our friends.
Yes, I
Thank
agree.
you,
The
Lord
people of
Maud.
Wazakhstan
Can,
are...
can we have order, please? I would like to move to the next point on the agenda. Act 51, Budget 2018. I would like to call upon the Prime Minister to introduce this Act.
Should I stand up?
If you want.
So the budget, the Storm Party since its creation has been committed to ending the Liberal moderate recession. We shall renew the finances of this micronation to ensure the stability and prosperity of our people. The nationalisation of the capital brewery will commence as soon as possible. This will give us access to funds that have been for the most part set aside and not really used. We will also increase the price of wine bottles to 20p each to ensure that we can properly maintain our services. Company taxation has been rather strict in some sectors of the economy. It has negatively been affecting the investment LTD. So we're going to move it from being an annual tax rather than quarterly, as recommended in the financial report. We shall also set aside a startup capital fund to give a kickstart to new businesses and that wish to prosper in our great micronation. To maintain a strong and stable economy, we'll raise contributions to £3 per person. These contributions are, of course, opt-in, so they're not mandatory. However, as a patriot, I shall be making that contribution myself, and I do expect that at least all the active members of our council also do so. And this will offer a strong foundation for our finances. A sovereign grant of £90 will be issued, and the money will be going towards financing the Startup Capital Fund, as well as a 10% share in the Academic Investment Ltd. And with all this money, we will be able to end this recession and start investing back to the people through the renovation of the great academic website, which recently has been under scrutiny for not having proper mobile support in most phones today. We also set aside a cultural patriot fund for investing into arts and music to encourage people to participate in our politics and our micronation in general. We're going to also be funding stationery for the government that we need to function properly, and the purchase of patriotic artifacts to ignite patriotism for these great lands. Now, they said we couldn't reach government, we did. They said we couldn't end this recession, we will.
I would now invite the Leader of the Opposition, Lord Helliker, to introduce Amendment 1 to Act 51.
I just want to have the budget on hand so I can properly quote. So, this amendment is, first part of this amendment will be mostly clarification, will functionally be in for the sake of clarification. So it's in section 2, clause A, we'll be adding, we'll read, under this amendment it will read, this act called, no, wait, 2A?
Weak.
Excuse me, I just read the wrong section.
Order. Please allow the honourable member to speak.
Are we all done, or does anybody else have any snide comments they wish to make? In the absence of one, I presume not. Right. Section 2A, under the amendment, shall read thusly: the Ministry of National Development is authorised to spend up to £20 on patriotic artefacts, which may include but is not limited to pins, identification cards, pens, badges, and stickers, which shall be sold through an online shop on the empireofdamia.org.uk national website. So this is to clarify principle, and also to ensure that an online shop is indeed properly prepared. So the next part would be possibly a bit more radical. So we would propose removing clauses B and C. Clause B authorises the Ministry of Citizenship Information to spend £10 on improvements to the website, and C would allow the Ministry of National Development to spend up to £15 on a cultural patriot fund. We propose to do something slightly different. We would say to remove clauses B and C, and in its place create a new clause B stating that the Ministry of Finance is authorised to provide up to £40 in funds to local governments under the following formula, which is a base of £5 per performance plus £1 for each resident of a province, which shall be made at the request of the local government of a province. This is essentially to allow local governments to be able to spend money on developing themselves, and the £40 set aside will not greatly impact the economy. The overall cost of it would be, I think according to our calculations, we'd only be decreasing the remaining free budget by £15.
Something like that, yeah. So it would mean we would effectively break even.
Yeah. So this would ensure that all money is available to be spent, and to allow for greater national development. That is all done.
Would any of the honourable members like to make points in this debate? Prime Minister.
This fund that you wish to create for our individual. Okay, for these, the money you're separating for individual lands or territories. What is this actually? You say that to invest in themselves, but what exactly is it? Outside of Adamia?
No, it would be pure. The investment would purely be for Adamic business.
Such as?
So, for instance, well, it's genuinely it's whatever need one might reasonably expect. So, for if a province was to, for instance, host other members of the empire, other citizens, then they could use that fund to provide refreshments in a similar manner to as been done today. It can be used for more useful things. So if I remember, so you could use it for. Can I quickly reread the budget, please?
I am not convinced that Helica knows exactly how this money would be spent.
Order. The leader of the opposition is speaking.
Right. So essentially, the money is being made available so you can fulfil all purposes that could possibly be foreseen. They would still be able to spend the money on the national website. This does not preclude it. The Ministry of National Development would also be able to use the money for the Cultural Patriot Fund. It's just broadening the scope of expenditure and basically allowing more money to be used for any such purposes.
Well,
Yeah.
can I?
Yes, Prime Minister.
Part of the objective of keeping some money within the aside is to make sure that we don't have another recession like you caused last time. Giving out free money out of nowhere to serve potential meetings in the future seems very inappropriate, especially considering the likelihood of these meetings is very low, as this is the area where we usually host all of these meetings in the first place.
In which case, the money is simply not spent, and it will remain within.
But then why remove the two clauses I added to the act of council and substitute with this one that doesn't seem to have any credibility.
Simply put, it is to allow.
I rest my case.
Okay.
Lord Moore.
I don't agree with this proposal, and I'm sad the amendment is in one block, because I do agree with the first part where you clarify what the funding on the website and such. But we strongly believe that we do need the money to improve the website, and this should be its own individual fund, and that it would be best to promote patriotism by funding patriotic cultural endeavours within the empire. I don't really see which provinces will request this money and need this money, and how, for example, spending it on refreshments would boost GDP. I don't think that would happen. And also, I believe there is the startup capital funding available in the budget, which you're not objecting to, so individual provinces or people within provinces can bid for that and further economic development that way. So, and we fully agree with what Giuliano, Mr. Saunders said about this potentially causing another recession if money is spent poorly. It seems like there's not going to be enough oversight over the money, and it seems like the Liberal moderates are trying to scupper our budget already.
Can I offer some comments of my own? Right, now,
Well, I don't
with
think we can
regards
stop you.
yeah, well, the act of spending more money generally does not cause a recession. In fact, it very much does the opposite. I don't know if you've studied Keynesian economics, but that is the whole point of when you're in a recession is for the government to spend more money in order to stimulate economic activity and to pull the state out of the recession.
How is buying biscuits going to stimulate any economic?
It was a conjecture, to be fair.
Well,
It was the only one you came up with.
well,
And
see,
you're moving towards
Yeah,
C,
Lady Worth.
which is to stimulate the economy by having the National Development Fund extra 15, the Cultural Patriot Fund even, for creating new projects which would potentially lead to more money coming in. Potentially we could develop Adam and Base. That's my personal dream.
well, that would, if I may, would still be entirely possible under the Liberal moderates proposal, because provinces could, with their local government allocation, spend money on cultural developments. That would be entirely reasonable. In fact, I would very much support that. That would be, in fact...
Indeed, if I may add.
Okay, we've got all four people wanting to speak here, so I'm going to go to the Prime Minister first.
I'll be very brief. I just want to say that I find this move I find it honestly quite disgusting, actually. It is clearly partisan. This is a move to frustrate the will of the people. They voted for the end of a recession, and you're just trying to bring it back by subsidising your own biscuit consumption. Our government will not stand for this, and I'm happy that the other members in this council agree, despite the Emperor having his reservations.
Lord Hilton.
Can we move this travesty onto the vote, please?
No.
I want to allow time. Lady Worthington.
I think the problem with having a fund that doesn't specifically say it has to be used in investment is that it will more likely be spent on biscuits, and we could have a culture of different territories feeling that they have to spend more and more of their funds on more lavish feasts for people to come over, and the competition and stuff. It's a worrying prospect. And if we specifically allocate the funds for productive things rather than biscuits, I think that would be a better use.
Lord Moore.
Who will decide on where this funding would be allocated?
The formula which is Liberal moderates propose is that each province would be entitled to a base of £5 plus £1 per resident. It is up to the local government of the province to decide what they want to use that money on. Now, currently the local government of the province consists of its duke and its councillor. However, under Liberal moderate proposals for constitutional reform, we would like to introduce local councils which will utilise direct democracy, so that every resident of a province has a say on what their local budget is spent on. So we want to trust the people of the provinces, people in their local area, to spend their money on what's right for them. Are there any other comments or questions? Seeing that there are none, we will move now to a vote on Amendment 1 to Act 51. All those in favour?
Wait, what?
All those in favour to Amendment 1?
Oh, isn't the first one just the website bit?
Amendment 1 is the whole
sorry,
amendment
oh,
there.
sorry.
Yeah, so we can't.
No, sorry.
All those opposed?
Abstain.
What?
Outrageous!
What?
Yes. And abstentions? The vote is tied.
Yay.
The Prime Minister has a casting vote, therefore the noes have it.
Thank you.
What you're
Democracy.
supposed to be Storm.
I just wanted to see what happened after the draw.
I love democracy. I love Adamia.
We move. So, for any final comments on the budget itself? Yes, Lord Moore.
I would like to stress to all citizens of Adamia that I played an integral part in drafting this budget, and that I personally vetoed many regressive Storm policies such as their nonsense on conscription and other policies that I will not share with the people because they were outrageous. We have vetoed these, and I and Giuliano and Anna are now in agreement of this progressive budget for all the people, and I would like to share this with the great people of Adamia. We are the true People's Party.
Okay, can we just temporarily bring proceedings to a temporary halt so I can welcome the Prime Minister of Wazakhstan?
Boo!
Nice, congratulate Giuliano, Prime Minister. I look forward to it.
I'm the new Minister of Foreign Affairs. Nice to meet you.
As of when?
Today.
Okay, fair enough.
Minister of Defence.
Good. What have you been demoted to now?
I have no role.
Leader of the opposition.
I'm the leader of the opposition.
Alright, I'm right to show my coat somewhere.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Cheers.
Yes, the Prime Minister has not seen fit to give me any further role.
Yes, we'll continue where we left off. Prime Minister.
I disagree with Sam on the point that we were making outrageous. We had outrageous things in our manifesto. However, we are happy that he has joined our coalition, and we think we are stronger because of it. And he will ensure that this government is balanced and continue serving the people as it should.
Lord Helliker.
I would come in on support with Lord Maud. I cannot speak for what was not in the manifesto that the Storm Party might have proposed, but the concept of the National Compulsory Development Programme was one that is deeply disconcerting because of the use of the term compulsory. I am pleased that Lord Maud and his Labour Party were able to dissuade the Prime Minister from taking any such unwise and undemocratic decisions.
Any further comments or questions on the budget as it stands? Prime Minister.
I love democracy.
Lord Helliker.
I did it properly. Stop trying.
Any further comments or questions on that? Right, we move now to vote on Act 51 as it stands unamended. All those in favour?
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4. All those opposed? Abstentions? I think the ayes have it. I will put that to vote on the ruling council Facebook group so that it can get a full majority one way or the other. Although I think we know which way it is probably going to go. So that is mostly passed.
A great victory for Adamia. Huzzah!
We move now to future business. I want to briefly speak with, particularly with party leaders, basically on what we want to have tabled for discussion at future meetings. Specifically, what in each party's manifesto will require an Act of Council, and as such, what will we have to allocate time for. I am trying to have meetings on a basis of roughly once a month, so we'll hopefully meet again in November, at which point I hope we can begin debating the proposals that the parties have, as well as any proposals that private members have in their own capacity. Obviously, it's not just parties that get to propose legislation. Anyone who's a member of the council can propose their own legislation as well. So bear that in mind also. So I'll start with the Prime Minister, the Storm Party.
Yes, our government has a number of ambitious plans, but one that I think we all agree on, we very strongly want to get moving on, is the referendum on constitutional reform. Hopefully we'll have something read, an act of council to start the referendum by next time. Of course, we still need time to decide on all the how we're going to word it and what we actually put in it. But
Okay, perhaps it may be worth, because I think all the parties have proposals for constitutional reform. So with regards to, say, the Liberal moderate proposals for constitution with regards to local government, would it perhaps be more convenient for those proposals to be tabled as an amendment to the Storm Parties Act rather than as a separate act? Because if we had two separate acts and both of them passed, then you would have two separate referenda, both on amending the constitution, when if they were delivered as one package with the consent of the whole council, we could have a more coherent and simplified choice for the election.
we would have to evaluate exactly.
Well, certainly
what
there can be
before.
there can be discussion between now and then on the nature of the act and the nature of any amendments to it. But those are for us to discuss perhaps after this meeting. But certainly an item on constitutional reform, we'll put that in, and the Liberal moderates will presumably consider amendments, and we would like to work with the government on the matter of constitutional reform. Yes, Lord Maud, I believe
Can
you
we
had.
not have a referendum with multiple questions, if you want?
We could actually, yes, I suppose so.
That's a great point by Sam Maud. I'm very glad he's in our government. Has
Common sense.
Alright, okay.
common sense policies.
Okay.
What are
okay.
the constitutional reforms, if I may ask?
We've not put them forward yet.
Well, the people voted for us overwhelmingly. We will be investigating the powers in which.
Proportional electoral system.
Yeah, we will definitely be looking at that, because I agree with Sam, that is important. We also will be looking at the powers that Adam he holds back for himself. We understand that he has threatened to veto anything that puts into question his absolute power, but we will try to be reasonable and try to get something working out. We're not looking to abolish the monarchy.
No.
We are looking for gradual reform that will give more trust the people with ruling this micronation.
Delusional.
Is there any other business that the Storm Party would want to table for now, for discussing in the future, any other acts of council?
I think it would be better if we, rather than announcing something immediately, that we discuss within the government what we want to do.
Okay. Lord Helliker, is there anything that the Liberal moderates would want to table for discussing in the near future?
Certainly, some things have already been incorporated into the budget. We are glad to see, because I expected to have to posit the nationalisation of the capital brewery, but it seems that the Storm Party has seen fit to shamelessly borrow the policy.
I will point out at this point, the inclusion of that policy was the result of negotiations between myself and the Minister of Finance, which take place as mandated by the Public Finance Act 2018. The negotiation of the sovereign grant and what it is spent on is the responsibility of the Minister of Finance and the Emperor. But certainly, I did put those Liberal moderate policies forward as part of my negotiation of the sovereign grant. But yes, please do continue.
Very well. Certainly, one of the things we'd be interested to do is with the rise of fake news in academic politics. We would be curious to table a system of robust defamation laws to prevent this spread and to prevent certain falsities from being spread throughout the nation. We would also be curious to properly define the powers of the academic police force and to support it further. To allow them to have greater investigatory powers so that they could perhaps investigate the validity of certain claims made perhaps during the election and at any other time in the future. What else? We've also tentatively suggested in the manifesto that we'd be interested to legislate to protect the rights of non-binary citizens in the event that anybody of such disposition joins our great empire, to ensure that they are properly respected.
Lady Worthington.
Just on the fake news and etc. But what is truth? You know, is it not surely that we all individually experience the world in our own individual ways, and truth is not, truth does not exist.
I believe that debate is to be had at the time that the leader of the opposition moves that forward. At this point in time, we are just discussing what we are going to discuss in future, not the actual substantive nature of that. Prime Minister.
I just want to point out that the only fake news that came out came from the party that stands opposite of me. There was no other fake news other than that. All the other articles were in fact confirmed later on, although there were some discrepancies from, I forgot his name, Freedom
Anonymous.
But we don't know who he is, and Also, I would like to also note that this investigating the allegations on the cyber corruption, our government does plan to do that. Maybe we should have actually mentioned that. But I think it's unfortunate that he isn't open-minded about it. There were, I think, Hermione and Asher, two very respected members of this empire. They made the accusation. I think they should be heard.
Lord Helliker.
The accusation was essentially baseless, and I can only assume to be a random attempt to shake faith in the monarchy and in the citizens of Circassia to further to some sort of political agenda. And I'll also add that the claims that you do not know who Freedom Anonymous are particularly disputable, given that the news in question was posted from your account. How would you respond to this observation? Are you saying that an anonymous individual has gained access to your private Facebook account and then through some mysterious process went on to post news on there?
I will say we don't actually have Prime Minister's questions scheduled for today. We will actually at some point in the
Surely
future.
I can just...
I will allow the Prime Minister to come back on that point briefly.
I think a Prime Minister's questions would be a good idea, by the way. But just to respond to that very specific comment he made, on the internet it is possible to share news articles and other people have posted, and that's all I did. I didn't create that. In fact, I was very busy talking to the everyday Adamic citizen. It's unfortunate that you're not doing the same, and in fact the election results very well represent that.
So, what was I? Okay, so with regards to part of business that will be putting forward soon, I think we have we have a bill regarding constitutional reform which will be put forward by the Storm Party, possibly amended by others. Will be negotiations going on, I'm sure, but we can discuss that at a later date. Also, there will be chance for the moderates to table bills on defamation law, on the powers of the police, and on the rights of non-binary citizens. Would any other members, perhaps was the Labour Party, have any
Thank you.
items?
I thought you forgot we existed there.
Well, you didn't have your hand up.
But you didn't ask them to have their hands up.
I
You addressed
think
them in
they-
order.
I'm addressing
I
you
support
now.
Sam.
I support nearly everything that's been listed. I would like to add to the constitutional reforms from our government. We especially want to focus on the rights of non-territorial citizens who we feel are marginalised, both electorally and kind of economically and socially in this empire. We support nearly everything that Lord Helliker has proposed. However, we are deeply concerned about greater investigative powers. It seems the Liberal Moderate parties need the Liberal or Moderate in this regard. But apart from that, we support pretty much everything that's been listed.
Lord Helliker.
You interpreted my words in the worst possible light, despite me not actually having properly formulated all of the concepts yet, nor this. So your assumption that our ideas would be particularly non-liberal and non-moderate is a little putting a cart before the horse, considering you can hardly comment when you don't know what the actual plan is yet.
Certainly, I would say that the general idea in the Liberal Moderate Manifesto, it very much said that the plan regarding the powers of the police would be to properly define and limit the powers of the police rather than to grant them any new powers. Currently, the powers of... Well,
I'm sorry, my words are not necessarily perfect.
The lead of the opposition
Cursed
is deceiving
Order! Order! Does Lord Moore have any actual acts of council that he would like to table?
No, we will be supporting both parties
Very
in their
good.
own acts and adding when needed, but no.
Any private bills? I mean, any member who is not a party leader is Lady Worthington, or any acts you would like to table?
I don't think so.
Okay, so I guess then the provisional schedule is that at the November meeting we shall discuss constitutional reform and defamation law, and at the December meeting we will discuss powers of the police and the rights of non-binary citizens. We move now to any other business. Is there any other business the honourable members would like to raise? Prime Minister.
I actually did like the idea of a Prime Minister's questions. I think it is worthy. I think it's fair that the opposition have a good chance of putting me into account. I love democracy and I think it makes sense. But I also think it's a good way of getting other...
I am blown away, quite frankly, by the integrity shown in this democratic process. And I think despite our differences as party members, I think all members of this ruling council do not abuse their power but use it in a way that benefits micronation as a whole. So I'd like to applaud all members of the current council. And also say that in recognition of that, I will be awarding knighthood and whatever the female equivalent is of the Ordo Fidelium to all members as a display of their...
I understand that was already granted to myself, Lord Hellicock and Lord Maud at the last
Correct.
meeting, so you will be extending that honour to Sir Giuliano and Lady Worthington, I assume.
Yes.
I would like to publicly say that I will be rejecting that offer.
Oh!
Because the Adamia people voted me to represent them, and I do not want to be mistaken for being your puppet. Adamia is an independent micronation, and we will not allow these meddling micronations, such as Wazakhstan, to...
I would like to remind you that it is...
But we do like diplomacy, so we don't mind him being around here.
Okay, it is an honorary recognition by another micronation. We have no intention to meddle in your democratic process.
What
And
are
I
you
am
doing here?
profoundly disappointed that you are not accepting that, but I understand it and would say, okay, I won't. We will withdraw that, but I think it's a foolish move because in accepting it, as your fellow members have so graciously done, they are acknowledging the deep and strong bond between these two nations. So I believe that your action undermines that.
Okay.
It's very quick, it's very
Prime
quick.
Minister, yeah.
No, I just want to say that this is an individual choice, and I'll let my other members of the government make their own decision on that.
I stand by my words. Yes.
Leader of the Opposition, Lord Hellicock.
I would just like to point out how this flies in the face of your claims that you love diplomacy. This seems to me to be an immense betrayal of your coalition with Lord Maud, who is dedicated to fostering international relations. You are only harming our relations and the trust that other micronations might be willing to have in the Empire of Damia by so rudely and pointlessly denying an honour granted by a foreign sovereign who gave this out of his genuine respect for you.
Yes, Prime Minister.
I'm rejecting that on an individual basis. The government, I'm sure Samuel will continue working with Wazakhstan, and I hope it is a productive relationship. But I personally do not want to be. I don't want there to be any reason for people in this micronation to doubt my integrity as representative of Adamia.
Lord Moore, did you have your hand up earlier, or are you fine now?
Thank you, Emperor Hilton. Yes, I would like to stress that I will be accepting this distinction. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I'm the primary representative of this government abroad. Relations with Wazakhstan will strengthen, so we can kind of ignore the two bickering girls in the back. We are going to have great relations.
I thank you kindly, and if I may ask, Prime Minister, though I dislike saying that, Prime Minister Saunders, do you not feel that by rejecting this privilege, that it is in fact undermining your diplomatic persona that you so ferociously wish to display to your citizens, and in fact shows them that it's simply a move of vanity, that you do not wish to be associated with another micronation? And I would ask further, would you reject any award or title bestowed onto you by another micronation?
Fake news.
It was a question, not a statement.
I solely represent the people who voted for me, and everyone in Adamia. I don't particularly feel the need to accept these honours. I understand that other people will, and I respect their personal choice. I think individual liberties here is something we all respect. In fact, freedom of speech is something I think we should all continue to fight for. So I dismiss these claims that I am undermining my position in any way.
Okay.
Alright, Lady Worthington.
And I think by the fact that you said you were unhappy to call Giuliano, the elected representative of Adamia, Prime Minister, shows that you are also reluctant to engage in proper diplomacy and respect for Adamia, our great micronation.
If I may come back to that, I uphold huge respect for the diplomatic process of this nation, and I do not wish to undermine what the people have voted for. But on a personal level, as the Prime Minister has so rightly pointed out, we disagree on many things, but this award is not in relation to our personal differences, it's in relation to the integrity with which the democratic process can continue in this nation. Yes. Lord Helliker.
Hold on. I say sorry, but I am the speaker here, just going
Are you stifling the representative of the people from speaking?
The honourable Emperor Hilton has said all that I was going to say.
Okay. I'm not sure why we're calling him Emperor Hilton.
Prime Minister. Sorry, Prime Minister.
I thought you were.
I forget.
Well,
you're the
I
Prime
am
Minister.
technically a dictator. My title is Prime Minister.
Yeah, the Prime Minister.
I will take His Eminence, Your Eminence, Eminence, Most Honourable. In Adamia, I am a knight, I believe. So,
Sir Hilton.
Yes.
Prime Minister.
This government is a strong believer of democracy, of a where everyone has a voice, and I think as a government we should be working together to promote democracy in other micronations. It's not only about us. We want other. We want all people in this world, micro world, to be happy. And you considering yourself to be a dictator is worrying to me personally. I do hope we have a constructive relationship, and I hope it's a democratic one as well.
Okay, I do take those comments on board, and I would like to remind you that happiness amongst our citizens is at an all-time high, and that whilst I would ideally like to strive for a democratic process, we are currently unable to do that. So until that becomes possible,
There's a reason for that.
Lord Moore.
How are you measuring happiness amongst your citizens?
Based on an interpretivist rapport with my citizens.
Okay. Is that all?
I love democracy.
We ended up having Prime Minister's questions, just with a different country's Prime Minister.
You said any other business.
Well, yeah, right.
Well,
Well,
you enjoy these sessions, Adam.
Well, yeah, it's fun. In a strange,
It is our
bizarre way, it is
responsibility.
fun. Yeah, but it is also a very serious responsibility. Yes. Any other business before we adjourn? All right. Okay. Now I think we can say this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.